Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavinsky's Tutorials. So today I'm going to do a little review, demo and walkthrough of Wurly by AudioThing. I'll just mention first, I'm not any kind of great keyboard player, so I'm coming more from the perspective of an app reviewer at this, but I will walk through the controls in detail, and I think most importantly, I will pick out some aspects in which I think this app could be improved. So this is a Wurlitzer. Now it is modeled. Um, at least the main keyboard sound is modeled, and then I think sampling is only used for the mechanical noises, things like the hammer sound or the sound you get when you release a key and stuff like that. So it's only 30 megabytes, so that's great. And I'm looking at this inside AUM here on my iPad. So this is available for iPad, iOS, but also Linux, Mac, and Windows, and I think they're all identical. At least on iOS, there is a standalone app as well, but the standalone app, although it has a keyboard, that keyboard is basically unusable because the black keys come down so low that it would be really hard to play this in any kind of meaningful way. So here I've got sequence AU keys set up, and I really love this little keyboard for using on a touch screen. It's just super nice. It's really well designed. And it's also very handy because I've got these little sliders that I can put on this here, and so I can just use that to turn sustain on and off. So that is one thing worth mentioning. There's nothing in the UI itself which allows you to turn sustain on or off. And personally, I think it's always very useful when a plugin does have that, because not everybody is using a sustain pedal all the time, and they might just want something on the UI. What I actually really like even more is like with Piano Tech, for example, which also has Wurlys, by the way. Whoops. Well, you have pedals there, but what's really nice about these pedals is that they are not just on or off. You can dial in other values, like here we've got a little bit of sustain, but not much, just a very small amount. So, like there we have a very moderate amount of sustain. And that is very handy to have. Once you get used to that, it starts to get really annoying when apps don't have that. So I wish that this had a control on the UI, basically, maybe even just a slider, that you could just dial in the exact amount of sustain that you wanted, and that it was compatible with things sending out incremental sustain messages. So all it does is just sustain on or off. So that is one criticism that I would have. But I really like the sound of this. It's very nice. So we have two models. The 200, so that came out in 1968, I think, and then the 200A came out sometime in the 70s. So when you switch between the models, you'll also get a change in the color of the UI. Now we can turn on a little speaker emulation, which can be either mono or stereo, and you have a mix knob for that here as well. We also have a detune knob, which can go up or down 20 hertz. So I'm very pleased it has that, because sometimes instruments don't have a global tuning knob, and it is useful. It's useful if you need to play along with someone else who's not tuned to 440 hertz, or some people just like to tune up or tune down for various reasons. And then here you've got this little detune knob, which will just make it sound like the piano is a bit out of tune. Now, then we have this electric section here. And if you bring the height and distance down, so this is basically modeling the position of the pickup in relation to the reeds. So in this electric piano, we would have a felt-covered hammer striking these reeds, and then the sound is picked up by the electric pickup. So if we're bringing the height and distance values down, it's like bringing the pickup very close to the reeds, and then we really get this like super kind of electric sound, really, I suppose, with a bit more saturation and distortion. And this little reed knob here really, makes a big difference. So lovely sound, really. And then let me just go back to the init patch. By the way, there is a bug, at least in the iOS version. If you first open this and it's on init and you press forward, it will not jump to this preset, which is the second one in the list. It'll jump somewhere else. It's just a weird little bug, and I've seen that in other AudioThing apps as well. The way to solve that is to just scroll through the whole list one time, and then when you go back to the start, then it will work as it should. It's a weird bug. So envelope decay. So that makes a lot of difference. And release. And velocity curve. So we can add in a little bit of randomness to the velocity, and we can make it easier or harder to play loud notes. So I'm pressing here on the middle of this key. So I'm sending in like mid-range velocity note. And if I bring velocity curve down, then even if I play just a mid-range velocity, it will sound like a high velocity note. And if I turn this up here, then it'll sound like a low velocity note. So you can just adjust that for your playing style and so on. It's great that it has that, yes. Here, master volume and this tone control. And tremolo, amount, and speed. I kind of wish that it had an envelope follower or something here. I just don't really like it when tremolo speed is fixed. It just doesn't sound all that interesting to me. So I love tremolo combined with envelope follower. Now let's look at the mechanical section. So hammer noise. So here, every time I press a key, we get that loud hammer noise. I'll bring that down. Oops, I forgot I had key up there as well. So let me do that again. So every time I have a note on, we hear this very audible hammer sound. I'll turn that down, key up. Every time I release, we get this sound. So you can dial these in exactly to your taste. In the init patch, I think they're turned on a bit loud, probably from most people's taste. So that is the noises section. And then the clank section, this really makes a big difference. So I don't know what the manual is like now, but when I saw the manual, it said clank level turns up the level of clank or something like that. But I asked Carlo from AudioThing what exactly is clank, and he just said it's the acoustic sound of the instrument. I think if you were playing it, but it wasn't turned on or something like that. Um, anyway, in terms of sound, it really makes a huge difference. So that's with a higher note, that's lower. Now, you can change how this will respond to velocity of notes and the frequency of notes in terms of the pitch. Are you playing a lower note or a higher note? How likely is it to trigger this clank sound? So let's see, for example, just with the velocity curve. So if I bring the velocity curve knob down, then even very low velocities will trigger this clank effect very strongly. If I turn that velocity curve knob up, then yeah, it's only when we play very loud notes that we will hear that clank sound. So like this, I'll just use the mouse to show you. So here, that's low velocity, right? Everywhere we're getting that clanky sound. Change velocity curve, put it up here. Now we're just not getting that clanky sound there. So that really makes a big difference to the sound. And then the last thing to look at is this pedal section. And let me just remind you, everybody, please smash the like and so on if you haven't yet, and write a comment as well if you've got just 2 seconds, help out the algorithm a little bit. I'd really appreciate it. So yeah, the pedal knobs, they're only going to make a difference if you're using a sustain pedal, either a physical one or just sending out CC64 like I'm doing here, using this sequence thing. So if we turn stomp and harp off, just turn them all the way down. If I toggle sustain on and off here with this slider down here, we're not getting any sound. If I turn stomp all the way up, then every time I toggle sustain on and off, we get this stomping sound. And then if we turn up this harp one and I've turned stomp down, then now we're getting this kind of sympathetic resonance sound. And that we only get it when we turn the pedal on, not when we turn it off. And so this is what it's like with stomp and harp turned on. So pretty intense. Yeah, I personally would probably want those off most of the time, I think. So I hope this was useful, everyone. Like I say, go elsewhere if you want to hear this played by a great keyboard player. Maybe Doug from the Sound Test Room or something has a demo like that. My task in this video was more to explain the controls and make a few critical comments about the app. So just to review very quickly before we finish those constructive criticisms, I think that it's honestly a bit silly to have a completely unplayable keyboard in the standalone app because of how low the black keys drop. It just seems like it's an aesthetic choice to design these keys like that. And that's just bad design to me. And then the other thing that I said, which I would love to see, would be to have a built-in UI element. A slider would be honestly the simplest thing to allow you to dial in the exact amount of sustain you want, exactly like an incremental sustain pedal would do. And that would also make this compatible with external sustain that had this incremental feature. Without adding that, you cannot benefit from using an incremental sustain pedal with this plugin. But other than that, it sounds great and very nice UI. I always really enjoy AudioThing apps UIs. and I do really like these kind of organ sounds. So yeah, enjoyable app. Thanks everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.